All right, today we're going to be answering the question, can you really use your mind, just your mind, to manifest physical things? And I'm not your guru. I'm not the expert. I'm not the teacher. I'm really a student like you, and I'm a guide too. If you stay to the end, what you're going to experience is a new perspective that might give you more to think about or less to think about. It might simplify things for you. So first of all, I want to say, there was a guy named Napoleon Hill. Whether you like him or not, what he did was he studied the top most successful people who created physical wealth and happiness and joy in their lives. And he studied the top 500 most successful people. And he studied some tens of thousands of failures. And he found a difference between the successes and the failures. The first book he wrote was The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. That was the first book. But it got taken off the market because the elite class at the time did not want that book to be published because they didn't want the secrets to be out there. But the second thing is he published a second book that was much more popular than The Law of Success in 16 Lessons because that was too big. It was a series of 16 booklets. So that was a full course, and it was probably one of the most extensive courses on success that we will ever see today, with the exception of maybe Your Wish is Your Command and Kevin Trudeau's Global Information Network. I think that is the most extensive we've ever seen in our lives. Napoleon Hill made a book, the second book, that was easier to read. It was called Think and Grow Rich. And I want you to think about the title. Why would he write a title called Think and Grow Rich? Now, he studied the 500 most successful people of all time during his era, the most successful people. So I just want you to keep that in perspective. This wasn't from him just believing it. This wasn't him just saying, hey, I think that people can think and grow rich. No, he went and studied these people, and he found that the fundamental difference between people who physically achieved what they wanted was something you can measure. You can measure health, and you can measure money and material things. You can't measure happiness. That's the most important. But the things that you can measure, money specifically, because we're asking, can we use our mind to manifest physical things, not invisible things, physical things? And the answer is absolutely yes, according to Napoleon Hill. Now, I obviously have my experiences and you have your experiences, so you can validate this for yourself. But here's what he found out. He found out that people who got exactly what they wanted, number one, above and beyond anything, they had desire. But that's not a good definition, because desired nowadays lost the potency of what it really means. It's not desire, because you can desire to be happier but not be happy. You can desire to make more money but not make more money. So what desire really is a blacked out, obsessive, possessive thought process about getting what it is you want and creating it into existence. So it's not about, let me do law of attraction. It was, they only thought about creating what they wanted into existence. If the circumstances that they wanted were not available, they would create the circumstances. This was the people he studied. So the question is, can you use your mind to manifest physical things? According to Napoleon Hill, yes. Now, what's the science behind this? In quantum mechanics, they did an experiment, okay? By the way, in quantum mechanics, this is what they found out about the physical universe. Number one, the physical universe is 99.9% empty space. It's less than 1% physical. It's less than 1% physical. That means my body that you're seeing is less than 1% what you see. The rest of it is pure wave pattern energy, purely. So it's almost 100% energy. So what is energy? Nobody can really say what energy is, but we know the characteristics. It cannot be created or destroyed. It's the cause and effect of itself. And it is the essence and the source of all things. That's what energy is. That is what 99.9% of this entire reality is. So we are mostly energy. Now, what's the distinguishing characteristic of energy or spirit? It's thought. What distinguishes energy from physical matter is thought. Energy is distinguished by thought. Energy can think. What distinguishes matter is form. Matter has a form. Energy can think. Energy can think. Matter has a form. This is what distinguishes thought or energy from physical matter. So how do you bridge the gap? How are they connected? Well, here it is. The physical world, this is what they found out in quantum mechanics. When a person observes any object, what happens to the object they're observing is it changes frequency. It changes frequency. So if you were to look at water, they ran this experiment where they put a word on the front of water. They put love on the front of the water. They put hate on the front of the water. Happy, the word happy on the front of the water, and they froze it. The patterns that the water crystallized into for the negative words were ugly patterns. They looked disgusting. The patterns that formed, same water with the word love on it, those formed into beautiful crystallized patterns. Same water, the only difference was the word they put on front of the water. Most people know about this experiment if you're in a scientific community and you study thought. But this is an experiment that shows thought creates and affects physical matter. So does our mind have an effect on physical matter? 100%. Science has proven that. Now, quantum mechanics also shows that when you are expecting something to be there, like when scientists look for smaller and smaller particles, because that's what happens. They look for smaller particles. When the scientist uses his microscope to look for smaller particles, what they found out in quantum mechanics is this: the act of observing and looking for the particle collapses the reality of a smaller particle for them to see. If they weren't trying to look for the particle, it would have never showed up in the first place, which is crazy to think about. So this proves that the observation and the looking for something makes it be there. So your observation is creative. So can you use your mind to manifest physical reality? 100% by multiple accounts. Number one, by Napoleon Hill and his research. He studied the top most successful people. He said the only difference is in the way they think about things. Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's actually true. Then, secondly, the science behind it now says, absolutely, you can use your mind to create reality, because we know observation is not just observation. You can't stay on the sidelines of reality. Your observation is being factored into what gets created physically. So your mind already is creating reality. So now that we know the truth of that, and you can do the research on your own. Now that we know the truth of that, what's next? Okay, what's the process of creating the reality that you want? And how can you put this to the test? Because I don't want to give you information and then not show you how to use it. Here's how you do it, okay? The very first thing you have to do is you have to get a burning desire, clearly define what you want, and get a burn for it to be created into existence. This is the first thing. The mind, this is how the mind works. The mind works on a singleness. It's the law of one. You can call it the law of one. Only can be one dominant vibration. There can only be one dominant thought in your life. There can only be one number one person in your life. There is one person who you spend the most time with. There's one thought that you think more than any other thought. There's one feeling that you feel more than any other feeling. It's the law of one. There's only one number one in any category. So the first thing you have to do is get a singular, definite, clear aim that you absolutely want. Second factor is you got to work yourself to the point where you have a blacked out, obsessive, possessive thought about creating this into your world and having it physically. You have to get obsessive about it because it's two factors. Number one, how clear are you on what you want? So the intensity of your feeling and emotion on the thought. And secondly, how long do you think about it? These are the two things. So the universe, the mind, the cosmic mind, and your mind work together. Some people call it conscious and subconscious. If your conscious mind is preoccupied with one dominant, intense desire, and secondly, it's obsessive to the point where it focuses on it all day because it loves thinking about it, the cosmic mind picks up whatever your conscious mind thinks about and starts to think it itself and create it into existence. So this is where people talk about law of attraction. Really, it's a response from the cosmic mind to your mind. So the only way to test this is to choose a single thought to think. Even if your thought is love, 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 even if that's the only thought you think, that thought will create love in your life. And if it doesn't work, right? But if it does work, you found the secret. Now, to take it a step further, what should you do every day to put this to the test? First of all, you should write a statement that says it should be in the first person present tense as if you already have it. I, Joshua, because my name's Joshua, I say, I, Joshua, will create generational wealth within the next decade for my family's future. I, Joshua Livingston, will create generational wealth, a business that helps me create generational wealth for my generation, for the next, let's say, 7 generations of my family. I can write that down, and if that's a clear goal, generational wealth. What is generational wealth? It means more than enough money to the point where none of my lineage has to work for money. The money that I create from my generation is enough to take care of the next 7 generations of my family so they do not have to work. That's very clear. The second thing I would have to do is get obsessive about that. How do I get obsessive about that? In 2 ways. Number 1, I can reduce the doubt that I'll get it. I'll reduce the doubt that I'll get it. How do I do that? I need to read stories about people who are just like me, who were broke, busted, disgusted, and made their way to the highest levels of generational wealth. I need to read stories about them, and I need to think like they thought. I need to see examples, because if I can see an example of somebody who did that, then I'm going to be motivated to do it myself. That's number 1. Number 2, okay, is I need to try out some of the techniques, some of the thought techniques that I'm mentioning right now. I need to come up with some thought techniques and try them out. Though if I start succeeding, if my thought techniques actually work, then what will happen? I'm going to get more belief that it works, and I'm going to do more of it. Now I reduce the doubt that I can get it, and I raise belief that I can get it. And I just repeat this process until I don't think that I can get it. I know that it's mine. And the only thing I have to do from there is sustain what I'm doing. And I know that I'm getting it. There is no doubts because it's working. I see it working. I watch other people who got what they had, and I'm succeeding now. So I need to read books about that. I need to listen to audios about that, associate with other people who want the same thing so we can create a mastermind, a bigger energy around it. That's what I need to do. I need to give recognition to people who already succeeded so I can throw energy at them. And I need to attend big functions where people all gather together and get excited about their goals and excited about generational wealth and creating it for each other. If I do that, my mind is only going to be occupied with the thing that I want. And by theory, it should create what I want into my world. I should be motivated, and my body should be doing the behaviors that make me successful. That's the way I prove it. So that question, can you really use your mind to manifest physical reality? Hopefully the answer is yes for you, because it is for me. I love y'all.